We're here once again with James Lanthier, the CEO of Mindset Pharma. That is MSET, MSET on the CSE. It's great to see you again, James. How are you?
I'm great, Dwayne. Great to see you again as well.
You've had a fantastic year so far. You've recently done your fiscal reporting for the year. So I just wanted to get an overview of the year and, some of the highlights for you and what you're doing as a company.
Yeah, it was it was a huge year for Mindset. Fiscal 2021 really was the year where we really took Mindset from this really early stage business with a handful of great ideas and a few patent applications that have been filed to, I think, based on what we've been able to do, really the leader in next generation psychedelic, drug discovery. So just as a reminder, our goal from the very beginning has really been to design next generation psychedelic drugs that are going to do a better job of meeting the needs of patients. And it all starts with intellectual property. So we, by the end of the fiscal year, I think we had on file, I think 8 different patent applications, that are pending that really cover a really wide range of different, drug designs, applying those to psilocybin and as well to DMT and 5-MeO DMT to try to make, better and improved medications. But I think even more importantly, we've gone from those patent applications now to having screened and tested a very large number of compounds under those patent applications. And we've really identified out of that 4 different families that each we think offer some improvements compared to the original first generation drugs in terms of their safety and in terms of their effectiveness. So we've gone, as I said, we've come a really long way, and I think we now are able to share quite a bit of data with the public around the superiority of our new drugs. And we're not done. We've got lots more that we're working on.
Congratulations once again on the development that you've had thus far. To my understanding, you've synthesized over 100 compounds, basically screened and synthesized, which, you're basically a leader in terms of developing, those sorts of compounds. So can you speak a little bit more in terms of how that aligns with your overall strategy? Are you trying to sort of develop a library here of different compounds?
Great question. Really, what we're trying to do is give ourselves as many opportunities as possible, as many chances of getting to clinically successful clinically successful medications. And I think it's important to understand we're really just at the beginning, the early stages of this medical, psychedelic renaissance. So there's lots of scientists doing lots of work on trying to figure out what the ideal characteristics are of a psychedelic medication and which indications those drugs can work for. And today, the reason people are so excited about the space is that there's really a very wide range of indications that it seems like the drugs have some benefit for. So really, as we all know, it's really hard to do, more than one thing, well in life. What Mindset is really good at is early stage discovery and then proving out and developing data to get a sense of which are the kind of the winners. And so our overarching view is let the other scientists figure out what the right characteristics are in psychedelic medication. We're going to do the discovery work to develop the intellectual property around those drugs and to pick some different drugs that can fit those different characteristics. So that's why really, rather than try to rush to declaring a bunch of lead candidates, our whole focus has been on really running a very comprehensive preclinical screening program to try to give ourselves as many shots on goal for getting to a successful drug.
In terms of your portfolio that you've developed here, can you give us some more color on that? Like, what are some of the lead candidates you've been working with, and what are some of the best prospects that you have thus far?
We started with designing drugs where we were aiming to, well, we were really starting with the psilocybin structure. So psilocybin is the psychoactive component of magic mushrooms, and making some changes to that structure to try to make potentially a safer drug and a drug that that might have a different duration, maybe a shorter duration than psilocybin, because the length of as great as psilocybin is, the length of the psilocybin trip was probably one of the real kind of impediments to psychedelic therapy being widely adopted. We moved on to a different structure. We moved on to a type of drug called DMT and its cousin 5-MeO DMT. These are drugs that already are really known for having a really strong and really short psychedelic trip, but they do have some safety issues associated with them. So the goal there really is to see if we can maintain that strong trip and short duration, but solve for some of the safety issues, which are bigger in that family than they are with psilocybin. And we're very excited because one of our families, family 4, we think really ticks those boxes, and similarly with some of our other families in terms of shortening the duration of psilocybin, making a shorter drug. Our first lead candidate that we've announced is a drug called what we call MSP 1014. It's a new drug, again, based on the psilocybin backbone, but still meaningfully different. And that drug, we think, really based on a whole bunch of preclinical data we've generated, we think it has the potential to be a stronger, safer version of psilocybin. We think it could compete really well against psilocybin.
Right, excellent. So the idea here is to create basically synthetic analogs to the pre-existing drugs like psilocybin, DMT, and then basically make them safer and more approachable to market, correct?
Synthetic analogs, yes, but that by itself isn't good enough, because psychedelic drugs, the whole reason we're here is that they are they do have some pretty impressive characteristics. So really what we're trying to do is to create synthetic better versions of the drugs that do meet some of those shortcomings and safety gaps that are there with the first generation drugs.
Can you add some color to your evaluation process in terms of selecting some of the drugs while you're screening?
Big picture in drug discovery and development, you're trying to do as much work as you can to pick drugs that are going to be successful and that are going to make it through clinical trials, that are going to be safe and effective. And you've got a lot of tools there at your disposal, but you really need to have the right people overseeing those processes and tools, so that and interpreting the data so that you stand the greatest likelihood of being successful. So really, first part is after you've synthesized, we test some of our, we start by screening our compounds in vitro testing. So testing them in cells, in dishes, in a lab environment. Use that to kind of pick out some of the most promising ones, and then advance some of those and take them into some predictive animal models. And so there's a whole series of different, pretty well established, scientifically objective tests you can do to try to assess the potential efficacy and safety of these types of drugs in mice and in rats.
You've identified basically a platform technology which assists in terms of selecting the drugs as well. So can you give us a little bit of information about that?
That's one of the really exciting things, and it's that we've identified in the course of our development process. And it's a chemical design strategy that we've been using in incorporating into a number of our compounds, and we've seen some really strong results from this. We call it a technology. It's really a design strategy that's embedded into these compounds. And what's really exciting to us is we see it really increasing and improving the the power and the efficacy of these compounds, the psychedelic efficacy of them. And there's only so much we're able to say about it publicly at the moment, because we filed some IP around it, but we're also intending to file some more, because we think that this strategy, if you will, has the potentially has applicability even outside of the psychedelic field. So it's something that the whole team and the scientists are really excited about, because it seems, based at least on the data we've seen so far, like it potentially has a lot of value, not just within psychedelics, but outside of it as well.
So can you give us a bit more of a description of your upcoming catalysts, and what are some of the exciting things coming down the pipeline for Mindset as well?
We're super excited about the next 3, 6, 12 months. I think, in the last little bit, Mindset's managed to make public a lot of data that I think really sets Mindset apart from the pack, and really kind of give substance to our claim about being really a leading next generation drug discovery platform. And you're going to see a lot more of that from us. We also have learned a lot about psychedelic chemical structures, and really, as I said, we're still in the early stages of the development of the medical psychedelic field. There's lots of other psychedelic drugs out there beyond kind of the well-known big five, if you will. And we think that there's lots of potential to apply what we've learned to some of these lesser well-known, less explored drugs. So, and really to create some really valuable intellectual property for Mindset in the space. So we have probably another 20 to 25 patent applications we're expecting to file in the next 6 to 12 months. We'll likely announce our second lead candidate. That'll be from one of our really short-acting families. And we're going to continue to advance the business. And I think, we've got, just given the sheer range of drug candidates that, Mindset's developed, that puts us in Mindset in a really excellent position for having lots of potential options to partner with other groups who might be interested, who have more of a clinical trial infrastructure and might be interested in partnering with Mindset to take drugs to market. So it sets us up really well in that regard.
Once again, thank you for joining us. This was very informative for us.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. Always great chatting with you, Dwayne.